Hi, my name is Professor Godwin Agbo. I'm a lecturer at the Boy State University, Abakaliki, and a facilitator at the National Open University of Nigeria, the Faculty of Sciences, Pure and Applied Sciences Department. In this video, I'm going to give you an instructional video concerning Physics 492, Practical Physics 3. Practical, of course, you know, is very interesting and is done to complement the theory, to actually find out what the theory is saying is correct, or maybe there is some deviations from the theoretical results. So I welcome you to this instructional video to pay attention and just learn the rubrics that are concerned in carrying out practical. You are welcome. Well, yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, Practical Physics 3, Introduction. Of course, I've given you my name, Professor G. A. Agbo. That's my email address. The learning objectives, getting to know what to do before the practical. These are the objectives, what we intend doing in this instructional video. Report of experiments. How do you take your readings? How do you report? After taking the readings, how do you put them across? And then submission of your reports. After doing all these experiments, you need to report them. And after reporting, you have to submit for grading. Now, our first item in the learning objective, getting to know what to do before the practical. You are supposed to read the experiment. Of course, that's what it is supposed to be. Anytime you are doing an experiment, you need to read the experiment several times to understand really what the experiment is asking you to do. The second point there is make sure that you assemble all the apparatus required. The apparatus required is very, very essential. Of course, if the apparatus are not complete, you may not be able to carry out the experiment. 3, set up the apparatus carefully and neatly, just as directed in the practical manual. Then determine the physical quantities to be measured. The physical quantities to be measured are specified in the practical manual. It's an instruction. And you need to really understand what it is before you move on. So, just a little bit, I need to put it on slideshow so that you will see it clearly. Now, of course, I've read all these things, getting to know what to do before the practical. You are supposed to read the experiment, make sure that you assemble all the apparatus required, set up the apparatus carefully and neatly, determine the physical quantities to be measured. The physical quantities to measure are there. So the next thing, of course, we are still going down to getting to know what to do before the practical. You need to record your dependent variable as well as the independent variable in a tabular form. Of course, when you are given an experiment, you need to identify which one is dependent variable and which one is independent variable. This will enable you to record your readings carefully and neatly and appropriately. You need to also examine the apparatus. This would have come in earlier, but we are not following it in order. You examine the apparatus in order to ensure that these apparatus are in order, so that we will minimize most of the errors that could come. Not that errors could come, but it's better we minimize them. So we also note other necessary things that may be needed. Of course, anything that could bring an error message, we will try to remove them into what we are doing. In the next slide, there's going to be an activity, and that activity, I will ensure that just give yourself time, just little time to do the activity. Make sure you put something down that will aid your learning and understanding of the materials. Yes, you must have put down all those things, just four of them. At least there are so many, but just put some of them. Then reports of experiments. How do you report your experiments? Of course, the first thing you need to do is to put a date. The date the experiment is being done. That's the first thing. That's a record for record purposes. And then the obvious something following is the aim of the experiment. What is the aim? Why are you doing the experiment? Of course, that must be specified in your book of recording, your book of reports. After that, then, because you are carrying out the experiment, no one requires you to list or write down the instructions of how to carry out the practical. That is the method you use in carrying out the practical. You just need to write the aim of the experiment, and following it is the table of observations. If it is the one that requires tables, you tabulate it and then know the dependent variable and independent variable. Then after your table of observations, if it requires graph, then you put it on a graph sheet. Graph sheets, of course, you all are aware, because from your previous practicals, year 1, year 2, year 3, you are aware of that. And then you graph your points, those values, the dependent variable and independent variable. Then what follows will be calculation of slope. Of course, definitely once there's a graph, what is expected is the calculation of slope and intercept, if need be, if it is required. But definitely the slope must come in, because that may be what you require to calculate the physical quantity you need, or it may lead you further to arrive at what is being expected. And then you look at it and then find the error estimation, either error in the graph or error in some other instruments and so on. Of course, definitely an experiment, particularly in practical physics, there's bound to be an error or errors in the system. And then what is your findings? Does it meet up with the aim of the experiment? What is your conclusion in doing that experiment? In the next slides, you are going to just do another activity, and I would like you to pay attention and participate in the activity. It is a must. Do it. It will help you to learn more of what we are talking about. Now, I know you must have done that exercise. It's an exercise. That's the activity 2. It's an exercise, and the more you put that, the more you stress yourself to write it down, the more it gets into you. That's why it is a must. It is necessary for you to participate. So the next thing is a submission of your report. After all said and done, all what you have done in the experiment, you require to make your submission for someone to grade it, for someone to look at what you have done, and then grade what you have done. So, and by then you'll be able to know, after the grading, you'll be able to know if you are in line with what the experiment is saying, or you are out of line, and you take your corrections. Submission is very, very important. It's part of the assessment in your course, in that particular course that requires assessment. Any course that requires an assessment, that assessment is part of your grading. Thank you, and see more of you next time.